Right, in the lead, 57 commuters escaped with multiple injuries after a bus caught fire on the Moloto Road, killing 6 of the commuters. 2 children were among the 6 people who perished. On arrival at the scene, firefighters discovered what looked like charred human remains.
Upon further investigation, it was discovered that 6 of the commuters burned beyond recognition. The driver of the Padco bus informed firefighters that he was driving when he was informed that the bus was on fire. The bus was carrying 63 commuters from Marabastad in Tshwane to Tweefontein in Mpumalanga. I'm joined, myself and Paul, now by Thabo Mabaso, who is the Deputy Chief of Public Information and Liaison Officer for the City of Tshwane's Emergency Services Department. Thabo, it's a pleasure being with you on this, it's a difficult morning, of course, for plenty of people. Let's quickly talk about the fact that there was a female patient that was the critical one from those that did survive. Do you have an update on how she's doing?
Good morning, and may I also greet the viewers. We currently, from the Tshwane Emergency Services, do not have an update of the female patient that was airlifted to Mill Park yesterday in a critical condition. However, the Mill Park Hospital is in a good position to be able to comment on the particular patient as to how they are progressing.
Thabo, we know that last night the Moloto Road had to be closed in the midst of this tragedy. Take us back and tell us exactly what you found as you arrived to that heartbreaking scene.
Yeah, after we were informed of the incident at just before 2 o'clock yesterday, upon arrival on scene, our firefighters found the bus on fire, and they then resumed firefighting. In the midst of the fire, there were also 14 patients that were on scene, busy being attended to by various emergency medical services that were on site. Firefighters continued with the medical treatment, and like we stated earlier, a female patient had severe burns as well as some additional injuries. And when she was assessed to be in a critical condition, and the paramedics on scene summoned a helicopter so that she could be airlifted due to the severity of the injuries she suffered. Other patients were also attended. Of the 14 that we found on scene, other than the woman, there was also another 2 patients, both males, that also had moderate injuries as compared to the other 11. So then the rest of the patients were transported to various hospitals between Mpumalanga as well as some of the hospitals in Tshwane, like Mamelodi Hospital. So then when firefighters continued with the firefighting, they could see what looked like bodies. In fact, one of the firefighters told me that he sees something that looks like a skull, and upon further investigation, then it was discovered then that there were bodies that burned. And on further counting, then we could count 6 bodies between ourselves and law enforcement officers.
Thabo, has the bus driver been able to recall exactly how this entire ordeal unfolded? Reports are that he was made aware that the bus was on fire while he was driving, and from that moment up until the point where emergency services arrived on the scene, do we know how things played out?
Yeah, what we could get from the bus driver, like you correctly said, is that he was concentrating on driving, and then all of a sudden he heard that the bus was on fire, and then when he brought the bus to stop, the bus was already on fire, and he could not determine as to what exactly the cause of the fire was. But at the time he stopped, the fire was already very progressing, and the commuters had to try rushing out of the bus and then finding help. That is probably where some of the people got injured. You would imagine that in a situation like that, it might lead to a stampede. Hence, some of the patients also sustained injuries. We suspect that it was pandemonium when they tried to escape the blaze.
Motorists were advised yesterday to avoid the R573. When it comes to the flow of traffic and cleanup operations, what is that street looking like this morning?
I cannot determine this morning as to what the street looked like. We handed over the scene to the law enforcement agencies to continue with the investigations, but I would like to believe that the road has been cleared at the moment, because by the time we leave on scene, the investigators and recovery plan was already in motion. So I would believe that the road is cleared at the moment.
Now, of course, last night there was a call made to relatives who suspect that their loved ones could have been on that bus to go to certain places and look for them. Now, of course, you mentioned the fact that some of them were burnt beyond recognition. How long would it take for the DNA results to come back, and and where exactly can those who might be suspecting that their relatives or their loved ones were on that bus go?
Yeah, look, the forensic laboratory mortuary in the city of Tshwane is at Steve Biko, the old Tshwane District Hospital. Then we would then advise the members of the public who are looking at finding their loved ones to look at, in terms of particularly those they suspect that they might have perished in the place, to check with the forensic laboratory, the forensic services at the Steve Biko. And then for other patients that were transported to various hospitals, I would also believe that because they had minor injuries, those would be the patients who would be able to get in touch with their families and relatives, because most of them did not suffer the injuries that were beyond, that would not allow them to make contact with their own families. And then for the other two patients that had moderate injuries, one was transported to Komhlanga Hospital, and then they could also check with that health facility, and then also check with Mamelodi Hospital if there is any of the patient who is still there after being transported to those facilities.
Thabo, I'd like for us to go through perhaps a checklist to inform commuters and perhaps even advice that may prevent such a tragic incident in the future when it comes to what commuters should be looking out for, the telltale signs before going on a bus, and which, of course, resulted in a very tragic incident.
Yeah, it's a difficult one to then, particularly when it comes to an incident where a fire might occur in a motor vehicle or a bus for that fact, because maybe electrical faults or so could not be in a vehicle are not imminent, as in like a house where you would see that there are loose hanging wires or so. But then as the bus is on motion, one could must always be observant of the smell around them. When a fire starts, you would get a smell of burning wires or so. That could be a telltale that something could be wrong. But you'd imagine that in a bus full of 63 people, you are having people that are having conversations and so on, which doesn't make it easy for them to recognize if there is imminent danger. But however, when danger is noticed at a particular time, and the report is given, like as it was given to the driver, that the bus was on fire. The advice is for commuters, to try to avoid a situation where it could lead to a stampede by making sure that they remain relaxed, evacuate the bus in a manner that would not lead to a stampede, rapid but with caution. And also, they should be aware, particularly those that are still physically able, that the buses have got with the glasses that indicate that one can, just kick them out and make an exit route for themselves, as compared maybe to try to squeeze through the narrow door when trying to escape. Those are some of the basic steps that one could take to just ensure that they escape with a little bit of safety out of a burning bus, or if a vehicle like a bus is involved in an accident.
Thabo Mabaso, the Deputy Chief of Public Information and Liaison Officer for the City of Tshwane. Thank you so much for your time this morning. We're going to end it there. And also, if you do suspect that you might have some relatives that might have been on that bus, do get in touch with those various institutions that Thabo did mention, especially if you have not heard from them.